Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Straight from the Training Ground, the podcast where we celebrate the beautiful game and the incredible people making an impact in their communities. I'm your guest host, Annie Chow, and today's episode is a little different because the roles have been switched. That's right, we are putting the spotlight on someone who's usually the one asking the questions, the creator of Straight from the Training Ground. He's not just an innovator, he's a leader, a mentor, and someone who puts everything into his game and into the community. So please help me in welcoming a special guest to his own show, Jason.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. So how did I do?
You did pretty well. I like it. You got the tagline. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Thank you.
I told you it was easy, right?
Not so bad. All right, Jason. So I looked at your resume. You have an amazing resume from coaching to teaching to community leadership. But before we get into all that, I just got to know, how did you get into soccer? Like, when did soccer first become a part of your life, and what does soccer mean to you?
Well, actually, so I grew up, my whole family was a sports family. My parents, my grandparents, I grew up around the Columbus, Ohio area. So what I would say the basic sports, American sports stuff, football, basketball, baseball, big Ohio State fans, college basketball. So I grew up around those things. And when I was about 5, and when I grew up, soccer wasn't on TV. It wasn't very prevalent. Mm-hmm. I was about 5 years old, and I still remember my parents told me they were going to take me to some family friends of ours had a daughter that played soccer. And I think she was around middle school age or something like that. And, I'd watch sports all the time on TV. I love sports, but I didn't know what soccer was. And,
really?
I said, what's that? And my parents didn't know either. All I remember they told me was they said, it's this game, you can't use your hands. And I remember the whole time going to this place, it was at a park or something. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what? Like, what kind of sport is that you can't use your hands, because I've grown up with American football, basketball, baseball, and stuff. So we get there, and I don't know what it was really, just maybe the fact that it was something new and different. I still remember to this day sitting there in the grass. I was watching it, and I don't know. I just thought it was amazing. I remember told my mom, I said, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. Sweet. And, so when I got old enough, a year later or so, she signed me up for rec league or whatever and started from there.
And that's how it began. Amazing. So what does it mean to you? Like, how does soccer, how does it affect you? Like, do you live it? Do you breathe it? What?
I think it's fair to say, if you ask my wife and kids and my family and stuff, I mean, I live it. I mean, I can't tell you, I coach, so I coach high school, I coach club. It's just something I just love doing. I love watching it. You and I were lucky enough, you were in town. We took in a Columbus Crew game with our family. That was awesome. But I can't tell you how many games I probably watch on TV each week. That's kind of what the podcast came from, and other endeavors that I've started through soccer. I grew up playing, so once I was introduced to soccer, I still loved basketball. I loved baseball. I never played organized American football, but I still loved it. I watched it on TV all the time. I had shoulder pads and a helmet and everything, as a little kid.
Nice.
And it might sound weird to you now, but I didn't really have a favorite sport. It was just kind of like whatever season it was always my favorite at the time.
Right.
But I love being outside. I just love kicking the ball around. And, even as to parents now and things as a coach, I tell people, when you're a little kid, you kind of got into it as an adult, but you, I think, felt the same thing. When you're a little kid, there isn't much of anything that's more fun than just running around, kicking a ball, Exactly. You may not grow up to play the rest of your life, but
right.
It's hard to learn to hit a baseball when you're a little kid, when you're 5 or 6. It's hard to catch a football out of the air, but, everyone runs around and kicks a ball in the backyard. And,
sure.
And I just love the fact that I think it's kind of the element that it's a working class game, that everyone can, all you need is a ball, and I grew up, we had a wall on our driveway at our house, and I just, I didn't like being inside. I was, I don't like being bored. So I was always outside, and I would just kick a ball against that wall all the time and try different things. And so I just love, because it's really difficult to get a team to play really well together.
Right.
There's not a lot of goals in soccer, but when it does work out, it's it's just pretty cool to watch. And so it's just kind of an artistic thing. It's hard to describe. It's just something
No,
I love doing. I love being around it. So
got it. No, I mean, to this day, I wish I could find a wall that I can kick on. I mean, it's like you don't want to kick it against the house wall, but I know what you mean. But that's great practice at the same time. So you touched upon a little bit about straight from the training ground, and I just want to know what made you decide to launch that. I mean, what did you hope it would become? And you also have some sponsorships and support from Salt Athletic, Duke Tig FC, and Uno Zero. And also, you have over 194,000 subscribers, and that's pretty amazing.
well, yeah, we appreciate it. We're thankful to everybody. So honestly, a lot of, everyone thinks that we started during COVID because a lot of things started during COVID, but
Right.
actually it was just a couple years ago. So the story goes, my good friend, my college roommate, Ryan Wall, aka Rosmondo, he grew up in Scotland. We were roommates in college. We played together, and we've been good friends ever since. And he stayed over here after college, and we talk all the time. And it's one of those things where you're busy, you have a family, you have a job. But when we would talk, we had ideas that we both wanted to do. We both coach a lot, so we didn't have a lot of time, and we don't live very close to each other. So we kept bouncing ideas off of each other. I don't know, I'd say for probably a few years about what we could do together that would be fun, regarding soccer. And obviously, like I said, the distance was one thing. So I don't remember what all, but we'd bounce an idea off of each other, and then real life would get in the way. A couple months would go by, and then one of us would mention it again, say, "What about this? What about that?" And finally, like I said, and I'm not good at relaxing. I have to always be busy, and so I get bored very easily in the winter here in Ohio. And so one winter, I said, "What if we did a podcast?" And at that time, podcasts were everywhere already, but they were Spotify and Apple and that kind of thing. And I'm sure there were ones on YouTube, but we said, "Yeah, let's do it." So I looked into it, and I said, "What if we did something a little bit different?" And we did it somehow with a video aspect, like this. And so we just, he was like, "Yeah, let's try it." Had no idea what we're doing. Still don't really have much of an idea what we're doing, but we just started. And really, I do want everybody to understand. I'm not being like crazy. We had no idea. I told you when we were hanging out before that I didn't even know what a thumbnail was. I just thought when you put a little video on YouTube, that YouTube picked a part of your video and made it the thumbnail. And so we just started. And like I said, that'd be my advice to anyone, whatever you want to start, is that and every entrepreneur we've had on here on the podcast has said the same thing. Just go start right now, whatever it is you want to do. And if you go back and watch some of our early ones, it was pretty rough. I'm not going to lie, but we just, the one thing that we always agreed on is we do love the working class aspect of soccer or football, whatever it is you want to call it. And we both are very passionate about, and like I said, I coach club. I'm not, anytime this comes up, I'm not here to like go against club soccer in the country that we live in. I think it provides a lot of good things, but I think that we have to provide other things as well for kids to have other avenues to get involved with soccer. We eliminate a lot of kids' opportunities with the financial aspect in the United States. And so we both are very passionate about that. And so we wanted to do something different. So we just kind of came up with a name because the name is, if you're familiar with soccer, it's not blatantly a soccer, it's not like two guys talking about soccer, it's not like that. But if you've been around soccer, you kind of know the term straight from the training ground. So, it kind of must be something soccer related. We came up with that, and we just decided that we wanted to have all kinds of aspects of soccer. So, we've had some of the most prolific coaches in the country on here, but we've also had people who just do great things in their community that no one else knows about. Because I think, I'm sure you're the same. Anybody that's played sports growing up can think of someone in their community that donated a lot of time, that, helped with all their little league baseball games, whatever. But outside of your little community, no one's ever heard of them. So we just wanted to kind of do what we can to shine light on them. And also, like I said, we didn't want to sit around and just talk about the Premier League or, the men's national team or the World Cup. There's a lot of people that do that, and that's great. But we wanted to do something just different. So, and we're still trying. So
it's amazing. You got, well, like I said, 194,000 subscribers, and I think it's going to keep going up. Tell me a little bit more about these sponsorships and partnerships that you're working with.
Yeah, so going back to Uno Zero, Duke Dig Brand FC, and Salt Athletic. First of all three of them have been really supportive of our podcast here on Straight from the Training Ground. And to be honest, I just kind of stumbled across them at various places through social media. They've all been on the podcast as guests. And then, after we get done with the podcast, we just kind of started a conversation, and one thing led to another. I met Duke Dig at the National Coaching Convention for coaches. There's an annual National Coaches Convention through the United Soccer Coaches. And, all three groups are just, more importantly, they're just great people. They really are. They all have different little things they come up with that are really useful in the soccer world. Uno Zero, provides some classic, really nice leather cleats. But again, they're just really good people to work with. They've been really helpful. Sam, CEO, has been phenomenal. He's helped a lot with, he'll reach out and not only support the podcast, not so much financially, but in terms of, helping me with things. And he sent me things for our camps and things like that for kids, little gifts here and there to hand out, things like that. Adelaide Gay is a professional goalkeeper. Her and Tiffany Weimer have started. They're both professional women's players who started Duke Dig, and they make some great. It started out as coaching notebooks, and I reached out to them, and Addie's been on our podcast a couple of times. Yeah. But again, they're just great people. Mm-hmm. Even though they run a company, Addie's still playing. She's a professional goalkeeper for DC Power, awesome. And she'll still, if you need something, they'll get right back to you. They've helped out a lot as well, providing some help and things like that. And they do a lot more now as a company, not just coaching notebooks, but they're just great people. And that's what's important to me. And then Salt Athletic, the same thing. They've just been really supportive. They've really blown up in the last year. Probably they were I think when you and I were hanging out at the crew game, we were talking about the soccer tournament, TST. And this year, Salt was there. They were handing out those Salt bags that they make for your cleats or for goalkeeper gloves, to professional players and all these celebrities. They were there all weekend. But again, it's not the fact that they're becoming a successful business, but all three of them. And, when I say all three of them, I mean like the CEOs, the people who started these companies, they're just great people. You could reach out to them right now and they would get right back to you within 24 hours almost every time. Which says a lot to me. I don't know about your industry and stuff, but someone gets back to you no matter how busy they are. That tells you a lot about their character. And so it's been great to just have their support, and their little chapters within the soccer world, having their name attached to our podcast sometimes, or just being able to have their support. It's been really big, and very, very appreciative to all three of them. So.
Yeah, amazing. Sounds like great companies, and hope to see them keep booming, and the football club as well.
Yeah, so, make sure you check them out. They're great.
I'll start following them on Instagram, and I want to get those cleats for my the Salt for my kids for their cleats.
You do, so your car doesn't stink. Trust me, it works.
And not only that, you also have the soccer neighborhood, which is a cool way to bring people together through the game. And can you tell us about why you started the soccer neighborhood and where did this idea come from?
Yeah, so about, I don't know, a year and a half ago, somewhere along those lines, I saw the Soccer Rebellion on social media. So I reached out to them about being on the podcast. And so Michael Dublis, the founder and creator of the Soccer Rebellion, said, yeah, sure, man. So we did a podcast together. And I remember he was in his car the first time. And he was sitting there on his phone doing the podcast. And then after that, we just kept talking. We hit it off because, we had a lot of, again, the same passion. Right. And so over that relationship, he does a lot of things along those lines in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area, and tours around the country in the summer, puts on street soccer things. He's very big on that culture. Yeah. And so we came up with this idea that we wanted to do more. And again, kind of like with Ryan, but we didn't know what it was exactly. So we kept bouncing ideas around and said, what if we see on social media even right now, there's more and more of these areas that you and I have talked about in LA and all around the country, street soccer, pickup soccer for kids and adults. And so we came up with this idea in the name, and we ended up getting a sweet logo. I want to give a shout out to my man, Caleb Miller, who has his own business. He came up with the logo, a little street sign that says the soccer neighborhood. And it's just a collective. We wanted to do a free website. All it is a website and an Instagram account. And we just tried to unite anyone out there that's doing, providing some kind of a free soccer or very, very low cost soccer opportunities for kids in their community, preferably street soccer, pickup soccer, anything like that. But the cost is the main thing. And so the idea is the soccer neighborhood is a collective where anyone can look on the website and find out places around their country or their community in the country, where people might be doing that. And so we just reach out and try to find people that are doing those things whenever we see it on social media. We've now partnered with, we do a street soccer program here in Columbus, Ohio, and then that's led to a great relationship with Ben Levy and the Final Third Foundation, which is a nonprofit who does a great job with a lot of with Columbus City schools, providing a lot of opportunities for kids beyond soccer, with reading, with all kinds of things in nature and science, as well as soccer, and providing opportunities for free for them. And so, the soccer neighborhood is just kind of a big collective. And like I said, I really think it's the next big thing in this country is people providing those opportunities for kids with street soccer, pickup soccer, because you don't need anything really. You just need a couple pop-up goals, that you can find at Walmart now or Amazon, and go out and get people, even adults, just one night a week, pick up soccer on a tennis court somewhere. You don't have to have 11 on 11. You don't have to pay a lot of money. And that to me is like the essence, of what soccer should be. So that's kind of the idea behind the soccer neighborhood. And we just want to keep continuing to grow.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, when we spoke about it, you put some ideas in my head, because it's like it's hard to find a field in Los Angeles. And so it's like there's basketball courts that are free. So why don't we just get, a couple goals, and it's like we're playing futsal. So yeah, thank you. That's amazing.
I don't know how familiar you are with pickup basketball, but so I grew up, basketball is a lot more popular where I grew up, and it's one of the best things I ever did. We just played pickup games, and people would show up, and the old, if you lose, you had to sit out and you had to wait. But that really builds a lot of toughness and passion and enthusiasm, because you don't want to lose. You don't want to have to sit out. And Mike D from the Soccer Rebellion, his passion is, he always talks about, he wants to create the Rucker Park, which is a famous pickup basketball court in New York City, where people are just climbing up the fences to watch, big basketball games in the park. He wants to create that environment, and for soccer. And they have that in other countries, and that's just kind of our goal.
Amazing.
And your goal in LA.
I know. Okay. Well, that's amazing. So you already touched upon the Final Third Foundation, but so also just looking at your resume, you have over 20 years in education, especially most of it in special ed, and now in health and physical education. You've worked with numerous schools and clubs in the past years. And so I was just wondering, as an educator, how do you feel like it has affected you in coaching these young athletes?
Well, I think to me, it's honestly the same thing. I know a lot of coaches say that, teaching and coaching a sport is an extension of the classroom, that they say a lot. But when I was interviewed at a school one time to be the coach, I don't know to this day if it was like a trick question or not, but they asked me, what my values and philosophy was according to coaching compared to being a teacher. And I don't know if they were trying to trick me or not, but like I said, I don't, it's the same thing. And I just went on to explain it. But, I like being a teacher and a coach, allows you to be around the kids at school, and see them in a different light. It's not just show up to practice. What can you do on the field as a player? You get to know them at school. What are they like? You get to know other kids and be around other teams and things like that, which I love. Also, and I think, like I said, the things that with our high school team that we believe in have to do with, they're not specific to soccer. They have to do with, like I said, just being a good person. So whether you're in the classroom or whether you're, on a team, doesn't matter what team it is, we expect you to be punctual, be responsible, be a good person, sacrifice, hard work, effort, all those things are important in any team sport,
Right.
just like they are in class or whatever else you do in life. And so that's, I guess, what I like about the high school level is, trying to help people become successful people out in the real world someday. Because, most people aren't going to grow up to be a professional soccer player or a professional athlete.
Right.
But, we want them to grow up to be the best, nurse, teacher, banker, stay-at-home mom, entrepreneur, whatever it is that they are. And so all of our things are kind of geared towards the big picture, I guess, in that way. So it's a lot like teaching, it's not just about getting a good grade on one test. It's about doing the right thing all the time. And so it's kind of what we do, or what we try to do.
Well, it seems like you have a great track record. Because let's see, you had 5 league titles, 8 district championships, over 50 players who went to play in college, 2-time Ohio Team Sportsmanship Awards, 3 National Academic All-Americans, 57 League All-Academic players in the last 4 seasons, and 17 National Team Academic Awards. Now, that's a serious track record. So it seems like you're definitely doing something right here. And so like you said, you already mentioned you're not just focusing on the athlete, you're focusing on the whole person. And I guess you already touched upon it, but what does it feel like? What does it mean to build athletes as people first?
Well, I appreciate that, first of all. There's a lot of people involved with all that. It's not me. So, but we put in a big emphasis on things in the classroom and other things as well. Obviously, every team everywhere wants to win all the time, but we put an emphasis on those things as well. So we're very proud of all that stuff. Anyways, back to your question though. I think I tell kids that I coach all the time, whether it's high school or club, what I care about the most is I don't really care, as an adult now, you play soccer, but if I had coached you, I don't care when you come back and I see you, around town, or if you come back to a football game, or I see you at the store, at the mall. I don't care if you're like, Jason, man, I haven't played soccer since high school. It doesn't bother me at all. I would love it if they're still involved, in some way, but what I care about is, what are you doing? Are you going to school? Did you graduate? Are you in some kind of training for a job? It doesn't have to be college, but are you being a good person in your community? You're paying your bills on time, those kind of things. That's what I care about the most and what I like to hear about.
Nice.
And, so we tell people all the time, when you're 25 or 30 years old and you come back and you can't kick a ball, that doesn't matter at all. It's about what you're doing in your community. Whether you move off, go somewhere else, whatever it might be. That's our emphasis. So,
well, thank you. I really appreciate you being open and sharing your story and your heart. And I realize it's not what you've built, not just through Straight from the Training Ground, but it's also on the sidelines, in the community, and the classroom. And that's really inspiring. And I'm so happy that you gave me the opportunity to interview you and share your story and celebrate everything that you're doing. So,
well, this is great. It's easy just being over here, answering all the questions. And I do want to give you credit so everyone knows you came up with this idea, not me. So I thought it was a great idea. You said, what do you think about this? I was like, sounds good to me.
And I was surprised.
You did all the work.
Well, I thought it was a crazy idea, but I appreciate it because I feel like you have an amazing story, an amazing background, and you give so much to the community. And so I wanted your story to be shared.
Well, I don't know about that, but I appreciate it.
Okay. But now I turn the mic back to you.
Well, again, Annie Chow, we appreciate it. Like I said, she was in town recently. We had a great time going to a Columbus Crew game. So we really appreciate that. And all that you do in your community, your nonprofit, the Light Project, correct?
Yes.
And all the hard work you're doing with soccer in the LA community. So best of luck to you. And
Thank you
again,
so
we
much.
appreciate it. Thank you for letting me be on the other end today and just sit here and answer questions. So until next time, Straight from the Training Ground.
Yeah.